Hello everyone, my name is Danielle. It is springtime and it is time to refresh our kitchen. In today's video, I am going to show you how I refaced all of our cabinets using front and center doors and drawer fronts. I think it's so beautiful. We did not want to have to spend a lot of money doing a complete gut job of all of the cabinets, so installing these doors and drawer fronts ended up being an easy and affordable way to upgrade our cabinets. I'll show you how I prep the cabinets and then I will show you how I install them. Let's get started. What I decided to do is Okay, so this is what our cabinets looked like. The cabinets themselves are original to the home that was built in 1932, so they are pretty old. They have been stained and painted over the years, and it's definitely time to update these. Okay, now it's time to prep these cabinet boxes. I first started by removing all of the doors. I decided to reface the cabinets because it's a lot quicker and less messier than doing an entire gut job. We lived through renovations a couple of years ago and did not want to do that again. We have these pull-out drawers, and I also removed those since the outside and inside of the boxes needed to be painted. I gave the boxes a light sand so that the paint could adhere as best as possible and for a more smoother look. I filled all of the holes with wood filler, and after about 3 hours when it was completely dry, I came back and sanded those areas so that everything blended seamlessly. Now onto the drawers. I decided to keep the boxes that we already have. I needed to replace the wood piece on the front of the drawer and the sides were coming off anyway, so I hammered the front piece off and glued the sides back together. Since I removed the front of the drawer boxes, I needed to find a piece of wood to replace it, so I went in our garage to see what I could find. We have a lot of random pieces of wood, so I was hopeful that I could find something to use. The piece of wood that I found is perfect because it can easily sit on the front of the drawer. I measured the width of the drawer and cut 2 pieces. I then used liquid nails to attach the pieces to the front. I set them aside and added these paint containers to weigh them down in place. Once they were all dry, I added some stain to add some luster, and building out these drawer boxes are now complete. Front and Center sent me free color samples, and we loved the color Sage. We took that to Benjamin Moore where they color matched the swatch, and now it's time to paint the boxes. So today is the final day of installing these cabinets. All of the prep work is complete and I'm ready to attach the doors and the drawer fronts to the boxes. The style that I selected for our cabinets is this Timken Style, and I think it's so beautiful. When it arrived, I was really happy that I selected this style. The color is also sage green. As you saw from the original style of our cabinets, they are kind of similar to this color, but this sage green is a bit darker, which I really like. In order to attach these doors to the cabinet boxes, I am going to hammer in the hinges. All of the cabinets are going to come pre-drilled for these hinges, so you don't have to worry about buying any extra tools in order to create these holes. I'm going to hammer them in with a rubber hammer, and I'm also going to attach it to the drawers. So let's get started. As I mentioned, I selected the Timken Style cabinets in the color Sage. If you want something different, they do offer other styles and colors. If you don't see a color that you like, they also offer paintable cabinets as well. They use a special 3D finish on all of their cabinets, which make the fronts extremely durable. They are resistant against scratches, chips, stains, water, dirt, and bacteria, which is extremely important to us, especially because we have a toddler. If you want to take things to the next level, they make custom frames that are ready for glass or decorative inserts, and they also sell floating shelves. To get an estimate of how much a project like this will cost, multiply each opening by $125. I'll leave a link to their estimate calculator in the description box below. You can use my discount code for 20% off of your purchase order. Now let's install these cabinets. I began by hammering the hinges into the holes, and once they were all done, I attached the doors to the boxes. Using this leveler definitely came in handy to help ensure that everything was straight and lined up properly. I then needed to install a faux drawer to cover this area below the sink. In order to attach it, I used liquid nails, which is an extremely strong adhesive that works great on projects like this. I attached it to the box and used pieces from a cardboard box to act as a spacer. I did the same with the drawers. I used liquid nails and attached the drawer fronts to the boxes. One thing that I love about these hinges is that they're adjustable. So as you can see here, there is a gap in between the doors, and the gap is a little bit wider than it is on the top. And with these hinges, you can adjust this space here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So I'm opening the door here so that you can see what I'm talking about. As you can see, there's an arrow here. It goes up and down, and this arrow goes side to side, which is for this screw. The up and down arrow is for that screw. There's also a screw on this side, and it moves the cabinet just a smidge back and forth. So if you do have issues and you think that your cabinet is off a little bit, whether it's the height or the gaps can be too wide or too tight, make sure that you try to screw these in first and make those adjustments before you worry, because I definitely did. One of the cabinets were a little too tight and it didn't close as smoothly as I'd hoped, but then I went in and I adjusted these screws to whatever I needed in order for the cabinet to close properly, and it fits perfectly. So first I'm going to tighten these screws, and I'm going to bring the cabinet inwards just a bit, and it's going to move from the left to the right a smidge. So as you see here, it moves in, and now we're going to just back up a little bit and test the doors to see if that was a good adjustment so that they can close smoothly. So there's still a bit of a gap, so I'm going to continue playing around with the screws on the inside. So now there you go, it closes perfectly, and that gap is exactly where we want it. Now I'm just going to adjust the top a little bit. Now it's perfectly aligned. One of the last steps, attaching the knobs. I love the color of these knobs and love that they have a back plate. I think back plates add such a beautiful decorative element. I am using this piece of cardboard box to assist with the placement of the knobs. I figured out where I want the hole to go, and I cut out a rectangle to ensure accurate placement and consistent spacing. The plastic wrap is still on the cabinets, so that's why I'm using a marker, but a pencil will also do. I then drilled holes for the knobs. Before inserting the nail and attaching the knobs, I removed the plastic from that specific area. The screwdriver helps to hold the nail in place so that I can screw the knobs in as tight as possible. Next, I'm attaching these handles. Now, on to the most satisfying part of this entire project of ripping off the plastic. Okay, so now the very last thing that I have to do is decide whether or not I'm going to put a handle on the faux cabinet beneath the sink. This is such a controversial topic. It's really funny. I've done so much research online to see what people typically do. I've asked friends and family, and it's literally split down the middle. What I decided to do is I decided to add a handle. I decided to do this because since our kitchen is pretty small, it's very obvious that something is missing. So I am going to add a handle. I know like some people say don't add a handle because you'll bump into it when you're doing the dishes, but our countertop has a lip about 2 to 3 inches hanging over the cabinet, so that won't be an issue for us. I also am going to put the same length of handle on this faux drawer that I did with these smaller drawers. For the bar handle, that's about 18 inches. That would actually look really good here. It's over $100 and I'm not going to spend that money, so we are just going to use what we have. Let me know in the comments below whether or not you think a handle should go below the kitchen sink. So this is a faux drawer with a metal piece behind it, as you saw earlier, so I am going to use my trusty liquid nails to attach the handle. And this is the final look. I love these cabinets so much. The design is beautiful and they definitely brighten up our kitchen. I love that we were able to refresh our cabinets without having to replace the entire structure. Thank you Front and Center for sponsoring today's video. Don't forget to use my discount code LEVI20 for 20% off of your order. In next week's video, I will show you how I decorate this kitchen. I will also show you another DIY project that I did in here as well. I will see you then. Bye.